Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the day 3 of DG-led Bharat Conference. In last 2 days, we had Shri Durga Shankar Mishra, Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, as our chief guest. And on the same day, we had an interesting session on CEO session called Japore Jabo, in which industry leaders participated. On day 2, we had a very interesting session on EV supply chain seizing opportunities. And we also had Mrs. Sunita Davra, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Commerce. And delegates, we promise you today we have a very power packed and one more interesting day. So we are starting with the session on energy storage. The need for energy storage to help balance the grid and minimize spillage is well recognized now. This session will cover the latest technologies, grid dynamics, and operational considerations associated with these technologies, views on policymakers and markets. I would like to invite Mr. Sandeep Sinha, Sales Director Renewables and Battery Energy Storage System, Hitachi Energy. The session is all yours, Mr. Sinha. Over to you.
Thank you, Pragati, for the introduction of the session and giving a good wrap up of last 2 days. Yes, indeed, the last 2 days have been very interesting and dynamic, and we hope that today's sessions will also offer the same level of interest to all this audience. So, good morning and warm welcome to eminent speakers and esteemed audience in this session on energy storage of DigiLeg Bharat 2021. It is my honor to chair this session of such an important and significant technology, which is going to shape the future of power industry, and it is going to put electricity as one of the major source of energy in times to come. So Government of India has given a commitment at the Paris Agreement of reducing the carbon footprint from the level of 2005 by 2031 by around 30 to 35%. In order to meet this or exceed this target, the renewable energy installation of 175 gigawatt by 2022 and 450 gigawatt by 2030 has been targeted. With the influx of this volume of renewable energy into the grid, it will come with its own challenges because of the variability and the unpredictability nature of the renewable energy, especially wind and solar. To manage all this, it is very important that battery energy storage systems is introduced in the system to optimize the uses of renewable energy, increase the penetration of renewable energy, and as we are seeing, to target around the clock uses of renewable energy in our grid systems. We have line of eminent speakers today who will be expressing their views and ideas and thoughts on this, and we'll be really we honored to listen to them and get the maximum out of them. So with that note, I invite Mr. Mustafa Wajid. He's managing director of Mayor Group, as well as one of the key mentor of this session, this whole entire Digital Bharat 2021, to kindly come and do the context setting and introduce the next speaker. So over to you, Mr. Mustafa.
Thank you. Yellarigu Namaskara. I am from Bangalore, practicing electrical engineer. Energy storage has always been part of human existence. In ancient times, people would store firewood. Later, when coal became, or rather was discovered as a fuel, people would store coal. And this is nothing but a form of energy storage. If we go a little deeper into this, or at a little macro level or a little higher philosophical level, I would like everyone to remember two critical elements that are mentioned in our mythology. One is Surya, the other is Vayu. Of course, Vayu is considered part of the Panchabhuta, but Surya is all encompassing. And frankly, there can be no life without this. And this is something that we in India have sort of appreciated much before anybody else all talked about solar energy or wind energy. So there is a very deep realization of these elements within our system, within our DNA. Over the years, with the advent of electricity, energy storage did become important primarily because of power quality problems. And I'm sure that all of us are familiar with having a home UPS with battery bank sitting somewhere in one corner, so that when the power supply is lost, we get the backup energy and we are at least able to run some light, put on some lights and run some fans until such time that the power supply is restored. So that's a modern form of energy storage, but it's conceptually no different from storing firewood and coal. This is the reality that we have been living with. However, energy storage is all set to move from being a backup topic to a mainstream topic. And the reason for that is what my good friend Sandeep outlined, that the amount of solar energy and wind energy that is being planned to be generated in our country is going to be very, very much more larger than what it has been in the past. Of course, this has become possible because of a significant drop in the price of such energy. The cost of producing this has come down dramatically. In the last 6 to 7 years, the solar energy prices have dropped by more than 85%, maybe a little more, depending on whom you're talking to. Even the wind turbine produced energy has also significantly dropped. Of course, not at the rapid pace of the drop of the solar energy. So going forward, we are going to see a lot more solar energy, wind energy, and other form of renewables which are going to be utilized to help to decarbonize the environment and to improve our energy self-sufficiency, because electricity is going to be needed in more than just homes and offices or homes in terms of day-to-day life what we are used to. It's also going to be used in transportation. In a big way, it's also going to be used in many other ways. Now, if we are going to go on this route of substantial amount of renewable energy, solar, wind, etc., obviously we need to keep in mind that it is intermittent. It is not something that is available round the clock. So the big challenge before all the engineering community in India today is to find a way of making these renewable energy production or renewable energy availability, make it available round the clock. The abbreviation for that is called RTC. So the focus of energy storage therefore becomes very important, because unless we store the energy, we cannot do RTC for renewable energy. The government of India has taken cognizance of this in many ways and has initiated a variety of initiatives and action steps. I think that we will see a lot more action happening on this, and consequently, the importance of Surya and Vayu will again become very important, like what it was in ancient times. I think there is a deeper philosophical implication in this. All of us understand this at a very different level, and I think that this particular conference will help in showing the way as to how India can increase its usage of renewables, improve its energy security, as well as clean up the environment. So this is the context. It's a very important topic going forward for the next at least 2 to 3 decades. We will be dealing with this as a major issue. There are a multiplicity of storage technologies. There are a variety of economics surrounding them. I'm sure that all of that will be debated in this conference. And obviously, we as a country will pick that or those options that are inherently suitable for us and compatible with our economic and social conditions. This is a kind of a brief overview of the context of this particular event today. I particularly thank all the organizing committee and the EMA operations team for putting this together. And a special thank you to Mr. S.K. Mishra for sparing his valuable time and showing the way forward. Now he, in a more lighter vein, I would treat him as the representative on earth in India of Surya today and for some more time. And therefore, he has an added responsibility of not only making it happen, but also educating all of us and being a guide to the entire industry so that we can develop Make in India competencies and ensure that we create the value addition and the all the other elements that need to be done within India, thereby creating employment and also improving technology and innovation. With these brief comments, I again thank everybody and wish everybody all the best, and also request everybody to be cautious. I don't think the third wave issue is as serious as it was, but one never knows. Stay safe, everyone, and back to you, Sandeep.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mustafa, for that enlightening words and setting the context. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Mishra to give a keynote address to the audience. And Mr. Mishra is the Director Power Systems at SECI, and he's driving. I will say he's the one of the key person driving the entire initiative of energy storage from the government side. Is we are looking at some of the major tenders which are coming up is being driven by SECI, and of late we have also seen the big decision on the RTC 2.5 gigawatt that has been done by SECI. So a lot of I'll say uh, initiatives that is being done by this uh, uh, I mean, for the power store energy storage is being driven by SECI. So prior to this, Mr. Mishra was working with Power Grid for quite some time, and he has got a lot of accolade in his on his name. And before that, he joined with from NTPC. So with this brief introduction, I request Mr. Mishra to kindly give a keynote address to the audience. Over to you, Mr. Mishra.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. And good morning to all. This is the session on energy storage. It is a well-timed session, and because we have recently launched a big tender of the 1000 megawatt hour. That is especially for the battery, but normally energy storage should be the technology agnostic. I'll come to all the issue on this, but before starting that, basic issue is that when the renewable systems, renewable energy has introduced in the energy market, first position in general of the others are that it is intermittent. It is based on the Surya Bhagwan या Vayu Bhagwan है तो available है, otherwise नहीं है. These were the things which were everybody was telling, and there was the conditions with the renewal. It is must run. So there are a lot many oppositions why it is must run, whether I need or don't need. These so many things renewable energy has passed, but with the encouragement of all the stakeholders and support of the government of India, the rate of this power has come to that level. Now you cannot avoid it. Even if you want to avoid it, you cannot avoid it. The rate is so low that is a solar is coming approximately 225 per unit. In last tender is 2 rupees 69 per unit. Very low rates are there. But as a solar energy corporation, as a government of India is always thinking how to turn this renewable to the firm power. We have started this concept of this energy storage concept and other concept 2018. In 2018, when we have initiated the idea of round the clock power, so everybody was they were thinking what they are talking about. Round the clock renewal, how it is possible. To whomever we talked at the time, everybody was not agreed with the idea, but we continued with our efforts. And ultimately, we launched a tender in 2019, and this was initially 400 megawatt, and it was a very good, very successful tender. This rates were also very amazing in that. But in that time, concept was that I have to increase if I have to generate the 400 megawatt renewable, so I will install the plant of 1300, 1400 megawatt to make it round the clock. Battery component, or sorry, energy storage component was slightly less on that because at that time cost was very high. So we designed the tender like that so that people should innovate. And because if you will bring the tenders like that, a lot of investors, a lot of developers keep on innovating the things, and then they guide us how to improve these tenders in future. So that's the second tender we brought. That is what is talked about 2.5 gigawatt. That is a dispatchable power, firm and dispatchable power like thermal or conventional power. So this is the way we decided. Then we thought there are certain requirements. We can tell the renewable, we can talk to renewable that you have to provide the peak power requirements. So such type of tenders we brought where the discoms or energy users, they have the requirement of peak power 4 hours we brought so in the evening and 2 hours in the morning. That type of tender we brought, that was also very good, very successful tender, and a lot of encouragement from the discounts we are getting. But when we have to sell, now the second part, bringing the tender is one part, then selling such type of power to the discom, that is also a challenge because you have to educate to the different persons. A lot of learning we are also getting on that. They should agree to purchase such type of power because storage power slightly costly, then but very short duration you need. So we have to educate them how you are ultimately you are getting benefited on that. So this is the way this concept of the energy storage has developed in the country, and then some of the specific tenders are brought from the day that is in Ladakh. There also we want to install one small project to demonstrate, because point is that Ladakh has a very vast potential of solar. You have to demonstrate first is the small project. This is very much possible there. So we have launched 50 megawatt hour battery storage, and that is under progress. And once we'll install that, a lot of learning will take place to the industry, so that this area of the Ladakh can be utilized, vast potential can be utilized for the country energy requirement. So this is the way we carried out the energy storage system in the country, and I think that this basically now how to basic concept, basic problem challenge to the country is the transition of the energy, because you have seen in the recent in China and at different places what the scary scene of that power is not available. This transition of power from the conventional to the renewable will be the very challenging, and we have to be very careful while designing the concept of this type. We have to provide a continuous power from the renewable. So that for that continuity, we have innovated one more idea. We said these transmission systems what we are building for the renewable, because renewables are maximum being generated in the area where the land is available, wastelands are available. That is Rajasthan, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, or Ladakh. These are the areas where the vast lands are available, and you can utilize the land, the energy need of the country. Now, carry this power, you have to drive the transmission, you have to construct the transmission line from different parts of the country. Country is already doing the 66.5 gigawatt transmission system or renewable system. Now, when we gone from the conventional to move conventional to the renewable, the conventional, if 100 megawatt plants you install of the solar, so of the thermal or hydro, you construct 100 megawatt transmission line, because it is being used for 100 megawatt, not 100, 80, 85 megawatt is normally flowing on that continuous basis around the clock. But in the case of renewable, it is not like that. When we convert it to renewable, but we keep on building the line of the same rating, 100 megawatt solar plant, we are constructing 100 megawatt transmission line. If you are a 100 megawatt wind plant, we are constructing 100 plant in transmission line. But utilization of such transmission lines are very low. If you see that, because UF of the solar is maximum 27, 28 is achieving in Rajasthan. 27, 28% utilization you are doing the transmission. Whole night it is without any power. Similar case in the wind, it is CUF is 35, and some of the months is very low utilization. What is the alternative then? Then we came with the idea, this, instead of making the transmission line, if I have to install 1,000 megawatt fuel plants. Let us not build the transmission line for the 1,000 megawatt. Let us build the transmission line for the 500 megawatt. Balance 500 megawatt of the renewable shall be shifted to the energy storage, and it can be used as per the requirements of DISCOM in the evening or different period what they need. We have designed different models on that, and we find very good response from everyone, and everybody is taking this idea. And now this thinking of involvement of the storage along with the transmission, that concept has been is getting matured, and very soon you will get all this concept to be implemented, so that What is the advantage with this? Our advantage behind our purpose of doing this, one is the reducing the cost of the transmission. Second is making renewable as a firm power. With this type of design of tenders, renewable also becomes like a firm power that is must for the transition of the energy. So this way, there is huge potential of the storage across the country, and both type, the pump storage or the battery, and battery especially because it can move to anywhere. So this wherever you are putting the transmission line, so you can move the battery there. Huge potential of the battery plants in India, installing of the battery can also get a lot of market on such type of schemes. So this is one of the area we are working now, and we are thinking this energy storage is a big advantage for making the renewable form. Now, second, now if you see the when you have to innovate the transmission, you have to innovate the renewable system and new product you have to bring. You have to study the requirement of the users, that is the discoms or different. When we carried out the different study of the different discom, we find that discoms may not be needing 365 days this peak power, different type of requirement. They have the seasonable requirements. Certain season, if you see the Punjab, the paddy season, the Punjab is demand increases for 4 months like anything. 7 gigawatt it is demand increases. So and then rest of the year they may not be needing that much power. What is the alternative for them? Alternative is that you earlier it was only conventional power. You have to tie up with the conventional power, and balance time you have to pay the fixed charges because you are not using the power other than 4 months. But renewable has all these advantages. They are with the association with the involvement of the storage, we can design the system like that. This 4 months I can supply to with this solar and wind. 4 months I can supply to Punjab. Then I have to find out the alternative states also. Here all the works starts because we have to start innovation of the tenders also, innovation of the contracting system also. One system, one renewable system and storage system can supply to the 3 states at different seasons. Then what is the advantage of that? All is going to meet their problem, and their liability gets reduced by 1/3. They need not to take unnecessary tie up with the power and keep on paying this fixed charges and different charges. That is, the discoms are burdened up right now. So these are the things which is possible because of the storage only. So that's why this session, what storage is being organized, this is a very well-timed session, and lot of things are country it is going on about understanding the how to involve this storage in the energy system. Recently, we brought one tender. This is 1,000. This is Honorable Minister announced 4,000 megawatt hour tender for the energy storage. This will help in reducing the cost also, because point is that it is chicken and egg problem. Unless until you go for the scale, cost will not get reduced. That is the why the solar, why the cost is reduced when we have gone to the scaling. The similar way we are trying for the this energy storage. Once we'll go to the 4,000 megawatt will be installed in a different part of the country. We hope this cost of the battery will also get reduced. That both pump storage and battery can be technologically agnostically can participate in the future tenders. This 1,000 megawatt, especially I will tell this tender is recently issued. We request all the industry and the other people through the document that is in our website. This tender document, and there is a standard bidding guidelines is also has been in the draft stage. It is mentioned, it is available there. Please go through that and kindly make your comments on that so that we can incorporate all the good suggestion and we can make a tender industry friendly tender, and where the industry can participate their innovations. This is going to be installed in the Fatehgarh 3. Land is being provided, connectivity and access. It is all is provided. No headache of this LTA and all is being sure. And lot of enablers are being done right now. I cannot comment because it is under approval, but a lot of enablers are being done for such type of storage project so that cost of the ultimate delivery to the customer get reduced. So this is the way the things right now is going on, and another is that energy storage, we think this is a this battery and different forms of storage will continue to keep on going. But in future, it will be the storage and long duration storage you may be needing. The hydrogen will get price will gets reduced. Then this long term storage, hydrogen is a, one of the green solution. So this all concept will keep on coming, and lot of things are happening in the country regarding in the field of hydrogen, also in the side of production of the electrolyzer also. So we hope in next 5-6 years up to 30 is very challenging and very dynamic nature. We will see that how the characteristics of the electricity is getting changed and how we are getting in the house different type of combinations of the electricity. So this all is going to happen. And before doing in the big scale, one of the government of India is also doing the greening of the islands. The greening of the islands concept, that is Andaman Island or Lakshadweep Island, that is also making government of India's complete green. That is with the help of energy storage and the hydrogen solution. These type of tenders are also shortly going to come for the greening of these islands, and that is also a very good potential of the investment for from the industry. So, and making our islands green. This concept will help us country to develop the tourism also. Now one more concept which is being planned, and that is a solar city concept that is the government has launched. But slowly we are thinking in the direction of green city. We are bringing this concept of the green city. If you have the tag of the green city, your tourism potential will get increased. We have the multiple advantage of this type of things. Suppose I will make the Ayodhya green. If I'll make the Ayodhya green, and Ayodhya, there's a lot of tourism potential is there because of the beautiful construction of temple. You'll lot of tourists will come in the outside, inside. This concept also we have to develop. And in the meantime, the energy storage, the byproduct, it will starts coming adding to the energy system. This is the way we are thinking. A lot of plans we are have in this energy storage concept and the cleaning of the, and we hope this our country will become 100% renewable very fast, and not it will require to 2050 what people are thinking, quite earlier, because the way the cost is getting reduced, it will come quite earlier. And only thing is that our planning should be we should plan transition of energy very carefully, so that we will not land in unnecessary issues. That is otherwise can be very much avoidable. This is the way I hope this I hope this all industry will help us in achieving this target of energy, making country 100% green, with the providing of new technology, intermittency, to reduce the intermittency by providing the storage technology. And we invite all the industry to participate in our tenders, in the future tenders, and so that we can make our country green. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra, for a very, I will say, an enlightening startup to this session on energy storage. Yes, indeed, we have seen that different kind of business models are being brought in by SECI, to give the value and, again, maximum out of this energy storage, be it the peaking power concept, be it round the clock, and even the recent models which you are bringing for replacement of transmission systems are really going to, help India achieve its target of meeting the or exceeding the renewable target and reducing the greenhouse gas emission at the earliest. We have, as I said, a lot of speakers lined up during the day to talk about different technologies. We have a panel discussion, and we'll request you that if time permits, you please continue with the sessions, and you are most invited to be part of this. And we once again thank you for your presence and your kind words, sir.
Thank you.
So,
Sir.
right. So with that, I take the opportunity of introducing our next keynote speaker, Mr. Deepak Thakur. He is lead renewable energy and storage and executive vice president of Reliance Group. As part of the core group of new energy business at Reliance, Deepak Thakur is responsible for evolving the strategic directions in defined domains, delivering business visions in the these verticals through in-house efforts complemented by investment and collaborations, thereby creating sustainable business roadmap. Prior to Reliance, he was Chief Executive Officer of Hybrid Energy Storage business for Sterling and Wilson, a Shapur Polanji Group company. In addition to that, he was also responsible for the wind EPC and e-mobility vertical of the group and was on the board of Sterling PBES Energy Solutions, a Canadian marine battery solution company, and GCO Australia. Deepak has worked with major industry players such as Mahindra & Mahindra, Larsen & Toubro Limited, Honeywell, and Thermax. He has a proven track record of incubating new business from strategy to building strong teams. Deepak has successfully handled various responsibilities encompassing sales, marketing, corporate strategy, business planning, and strategic alliance in addition to PLN ownership across a wide spectrum of industry in his professional career spanning over 3 decades. Deepak holds BE in a degree from University of Pune and is an alumnus of Symbiosis Institute of Business Management. I welcome you, Mr. Deepak, to kindly present your thoughts in this session.
Thank you, Sandeep, for some wonderful introduction. And once again, many thanks to IEMA for providing me this opportunity to present a few thoughts. And with that, I will start my presentation. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
So the subject I'm going to try to touch upon today is within the energy storage spectrum, what is that we can do from where we are today in terms of taking our position on the global arena. As I start speaking about this, I would like to go back and present the renewable energy story where we are today. So 10 years back, with a few megawatts of solar and maybe a gigawatt of wind, and today where we stand, almost 100 gigawatts of wind solar, 37% of the total energy basket coming from renewables. And the roadmap that has been charted going forward talks about even a much more aggressive penetration of renewables within the total energy basket of the country. My belief is that energy storage is at the same cusp. The difference being, however, that today government, industry, end users are also now proactively thinking about how do we actually remove the dependency on imports, how do we create Atmanirbharta, and we have a very strong indigenous supply chain in the storage space. And I think that's something which I thought I will start off with as I share my thoughts in this context. Storage. Obviously, I think all of us are aware of it. When the word energy storage gets used, I think there are different technologies, starting from lead acid, which you are all aware of, to lithium ion, to something on the mechanical side, which is whether it's pumped hydro, it's flywheels, it's compressed air, other technologies which are evolving now, which is like flow batteries on the electrochemistry side, sodium ion. There is batteries with high temperature batteries, molten salt, liquid metal, and obviously there are supercapacitors. So if you look at the entire spectrum of energy storage, obviously there are different options as the world is now currently seeing. And on the other side of the spectrum is where you have different applications, starting from consumer durables to utility scale renewable energy integration to transportation to back of the meter applications on data centers and residential and commercial and industrial, things like telecom towers. Obviously, the purpose of showing this slide is that there need to be different horses for different courses. There are different applications, and no one technology is going to be able to meet requirements across this entire basket. There will have to be characteristics of the technology which is assessed, system engineering and application engineering, which is done efficiently to make sure that the optimal solution is designed and applied to the right use case. While we are talking about energy storage, I think there is an allied space which is evolving, and I think India has taken a fairly aggressive position in this with the announcement of the hydrogen mission recently by the government of India. And obviously, when we are talking about renewables, there is a huge potential for green hydrogen generation, leveraging the renewable energy assets that we are building. And as this hydrogen production is actually enhanced, this will enable us to not only meet power application process requirements where hydrogen is and can be leveraged, but also mobility. And it can actually change the entire gamut of mobility as we currently are witnessing. And this would entail two technologies to evolve. One, on the hydrogen generation side, obviously the electrolyzer is a technology which will actually have to be evolved and grown. And the other side is fuel cells. Fuel cells both for stationary storage and fuel cells as part of the mobility value chain. Storage is relevant in this space because, as most of us would be aware, when you have fuel cell electric vehicles, there is a requirement of bridging power, and that's where energy storage comes into play also. So there is a link on the mobility side, as also when you have renewables powering electrolyzers, there could be storage coming in where the intermittency of renewables is to an extent possible mitigated to have better runtimes for electrolyzers. So this is a relevant space emerging, and where storage will also have a role to play. The market, obviously, as we see the market evolving, clearly, just on the mobility space, the next 8 to 10 years, it's seen that the energy storage requirement, batteries for electric vehicles, is expected to be 100 gigawatt a year market, with obviously different capacities, different pack designs that will be required for each of these use cases. However, this is a huge growth potential that is seen in the case of electric mobility. And on the other side, we see almost about 85 gigawatt of hour opportunity per year evolving for fuel cells, based electric vehicles. And the thought is that the heavy vehicles, trucks, tankers, buses, will actually skew towards fuel cells, and the lighter vehicles, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, passenger cars, and to some extent even the medium-sized buses would actually move towards electric vehicles. So this is the way one perspective is on the potential for energy storage and fuel cells. And as I mentioned earlier, I think a part of the fuel cell mobility space will also entail energy storage batteries coming in, at least for some of the capacity requirements. The other large potential that exists for India, and I think that links up to the first slide which I actually shared, which is a huge growth in renewable energy. So whether it is renewable energy integration, related storage to provide round-the-clock power for curtailment management, for peak shaving, for smoothing, for ramp up, with the back-of-the-meter applications that we believe, whether it's data centers, inverters, UPSs, telecom towers, DG set replacements, and obviously grid support, transmission distribution support. The cumulative demand that is seen over the next 10 years is adding up to about 1,000 gigawatt hour, a huge number. And in some of these spaces, like telecom towers, where we have hands-on experience as Reliance, we see that there is parity which is now being seen with DG sets, and I think there is a economic case for widespread proliferation of storage already in the space. In the case of data centers, we are seeing a good traction now also for lithium coming and replacing lead. And as renewables gets more and more prominent even at the back of the meter, decentralized applications, I think this particular proliferation will grow. And this will be complicated with what we are seeing now. Lithium, I think cell prices, system prices are dropping. Obviously, the expectation is that this will require to go down further for increased share in this entire pie. However, I think the trajectory is in the right direction. So this is on the stationary storage side. If I put the picture together of the total energy landscape in the country, very frankly, we are seeing from about 178 gigawatt our cumulative capacity that I think has been projected in the last 3 years. There is a projection that by 32, in the 5-year period preceding that, there would be a cumulative demand of about 1700 gigawatt hour. And clearly, this becomes a huge catalyst for the subject we are trying to address over here, which is creating a sustainable ecosystem for energy storage in the country. And obviously, I think the whole push towards e-mobility, push towards renewables is becoming a huge lever as we move in this direction. I just thought I kind of share this perspective with everyone, and I think this is just talking about stationary storage related opportunity for storage. And if you see the value chain, obviously, if I move backwards from the project development, system integration, there is the PCS and the electrical control systems and the cell and the module. So while the projects which are being conceived currently, the projects which are being implemented in the country, I think there is predominantly seen that project development is obviously something which is heavily localized and driven by domestic entities. There is some level of system integration which is happening, and actual installation and operations for energy storage systems which is happening with local entities actually participating. There is a lesser amount of current focus which is given on the overall design as also development and creation when it comes to the convergence systems, the electrical controls, and this is not in terms of just hardware, it is about the solution being engineered. And this is a space which I think there's much more focus that we as industry could give. And obviously the largest value add that I think we will have to bring about as a nation is looking at the cell module BMS, manufacturing, technology, and also the supply chain. So clearly, moving from right to left, I think is something that we need to create more and more intensity as an industry if we really want to control value that we are deriving from energy storage. Now coming into the key area. So yes, there is a demand potential that is seen in the country. There is growth requirements that is there. The basic fundamentals are there. Energy storage, how do we actually go out and create this ecosystem? Lead acid is a very well established technology in the country. There is sufficient manufacturing competence, infrastructure existing. If we move to the next level of energy storage for different applications that are presented in the second slide, lithium is a technology which is predominantly seen as the answer in the near to medium term. And obviously, I think all of us are aware of the fact that across different lithium electrochemistries, whether it's lithium, it's cobalt, it's manganese, it's nickel, I think these raw materials availability in the country is today low. There is high dependence that we would have in terms of importing these ingredients. One challenge I think we as an industry will have to take is obviously invest in technology. So there are options available where chemistries are evolving are being created where in the lithium ion space, lower lithium content, recycled lithium actually becomes a starting point. And that could in some way mitigate the challenge that we faced of raw materials. If we are able to get our supply chain, and I think there are country to country strategic engagements that I think we are engaging in to kind of have better security in terms of key raw material supplies for energy storage. While that is something which is important for us to kind of ensure, as industry, I think the potential for setting up end-to-end integrated manufacturing, and that will enable us to do two things. One, actually control the value add and the cost stack up, but more importantly, actually engineer solutions and customize applications that we need to service in this part of the world. Last but not the least, I think there are alternate technologies which are completely, I would say, Horizon 2, Horizon 3 at this point in time, but with high potential. Sodium ion is one such technology. There are aluminum technologies. There are technologies in terms of metal hydrides, metal air, which obviously mitigates this whole challenge of lithium and raw material availability. And I think this is somewhere, some area that we all need to apply our heads and invest resources and energy. Coming back to something which is reality, which is, yes, while we are doing all this, investing time, energy to kind of create the next potential technology, creating the right application, we would need to look at lithium. And I think just wanted to give a perspective to the audience that when we talk about lithium, about 25% of the total pack cost is raw materials. And if you look at the cell stack up, a lithium cell stack up, using NMC 811 as the base, about 80% of the total raw material cost is actually raw materials. And the way I would like to share with you in terms of what we can do in terms of taking the indigenization path is a twofold path, which I believe is pragmatic, which I think as we build capacities for cell manufacturing, I think we start with importing the cathode, the anode, rolls, and the separators and the for the manufacture of cells. And this would mean about 35% of indigenization. And in the next level, we actually move to the deposition actually being done from raw materials. And that would mean that lithium hydroxide would likely to be imported. And this, in my belief, would mean about 80% of indigenization is kind of ensured. Again, I think just some thoughts, and I think as we as an industry start applying our heads together, I think there's much more that we can do in building a much more sustainable ecosystem. Another thing that India, I think, needs to look at, and we as an industry need to look at much more aggressively, is reuse and revamp. So there is globally, I think, a huge amount of focus which is now being done in terms of how can batteries, which are already in existence, are being used, how can they be reused and revamped? And here, I think there's a three-pronged approach that I think we as a country could look at in terms of building infrastructure, looking at technologies. One, obviously, is the second life that we are talking about over here for batteries could be repairs. So obviously creating a complete infrastructure or an ecosystem which allows for, depending on the remaining life of the batteries, there could be repairs which are done, refurbishing of the batteries so that they can actually be reused. There is second life. So as we all know that after batteries hit about 65% SOH, in case of electric vehicles, they are still have enough capacity to be used in the stationary storage space. So revamping batteries so that they can actually get applied even for other applications where they still are pertinent value. And last but not the least is recycling. And I think as a country, this is something that we have shown good credence in being able to do, which is uh, ensuring that the raw materials, the metals, are actually extracted and they're reused. We do it across various industry verticals, and we can do it also in the energy storage space. And this, in a large way, can reduce the dependency on imports. So this is another dimension that Reliance as India as a country, we need to look at as we are building a much more meaningful energy storage ecosystem for India and for ourselves. While industry and all of us can actually play a very, very critical role, I think the regulatory framework and the policy framework becomes a very important lever in terms of ensuring this. And if you look at what's been happening in the country over the last 3 to 4 years, I thought it's good to give a snapshot that there are various things which are happening, possibly with the central and the state governments actually pushing, primarily to either create a much more green energy ecosystem, creating the PLI scheme for advanced cell chemistry now, which is being introduced for battery storage, with the hydrogen national mission, with the e-mobility mission. There's a lot of levers which I think the regulatory framework which are coming into play. If we look at it holistically, I think this should and can be leveraged, and I think it's already being leveraged to make sure that the end objective, which is to have more renewables, have energy storage, and reduce the dependency on fossil fuels, actually get achieved across the entire hierarchy in this country. And in conclusion, I think I thought it's good to look at this. So while we try to create a sustainable energy storage platform for at a country level, I think there are different levers that will have to come into play. There are different dimensions which will have to come into play. So, and this would mean that the regulatory authorities, the government of India, the state governments, the industry stakeholders, all of them have to actually co-create this. So if you look at it, whether it is raw material availability, whether it's innovation, it's manufacturing infrastructure, it is economies of scale where we create capacities, demand creation. I think this is going to be a synergistic approach that needs to be followed, created, and worked on. With that, I'll end my presentation, and thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thakur, for giving a very elaborate view from the industry perspective. And it was, I'll say, a very good sequence where we did hear from the government side, SECI being one of the main implementing arms for Ministry of Power, Government of India. They are working a lot on energy storage, followed by your, I will say, the innovative speech, which gives us a lot of food for thought and a lot of input to the industry to work and act upon it in the times to come. I see that Dr. Mashalkar is there and Mr. Vijay Karya is also there. So once again, thanking you for your active participation and